live.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Township of North Dumfries Public Planning Meeting. We have 3 Committee of Adjustment applications for this evening. Members of the public who have registered before the registration deadline have been provided with a link to join the virtual meeting this evening and have indicated to staff which application they would like to participate in. Staff will move these individuals who have registered into the meeting to speak in order that the applications can be heard. It is due to COVID-19 and recommendations by Waterloo Regional Public Health to exercise social distancing and public gathering thresholds. Township public meetings are currently being held by teleconference. Members of the public have been provided with the following methods to watch and participate in this open meeting electronically. Watch the live stream by accessing the meeting at calendar.northdumfries.ca/council. Under the video column, click the link for the meeting date that you wish to watch. You do not need to be a YouTube account to watch the live stream. You cannot directly participate in the meeting via the live stream, as this is for viewing only. The second method is methods of the public who were interested in attending as an observer or wish to speak to an item were to submit the request in writing to the Clerk's Division at northdumfries.ca before 7 p.m. on Monday, November 23rd. A link and telephone number has been provided to those who registered before the registration deadline. And the last method, methods of the public who wanted to comment on a particular item, but were not available to attend the meeting virtually, were invited to submit written comments to the clerk at northdumfries.ca, which would then be provided to the mayor and council prior to the meeting. I'd now like to call the meeting to order, and I'd like approval of the agenda, please.
So that's moved by Councillor Gillespie and seconded by Councillor Rolleman, that Council adopt the November 24th, 2020 public meeting agenda as presented, and that all correspondence circulated to Council in advance of this meeting and made available publicly on the Township website will form part of the public record for this meeting of Council. Mayor Foxton, how do you vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. Now, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none, we are going to now go into the Committee of Adjustment. Could I have the motion, please, to adjourn council?
So that's moved by Councillor Osner and seconded by Councillor McCreary that the council meeting be adjourned at 7:04 p.m. to sit as Committee of Adjustment for the purposes of holding public meetings pursuant to the provisions of the Planning Act. Mayor Foxton, your vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. And now staff will pause for a brief second while staff moves the applicants into the meeting. Are we ready?
Yes.
Thank you. In accordance with report number PD 27-2020 consent application for 2596 Alps Road, file number B03/20. In accordance with the Planning Act, notice was given. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and/or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. Those individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. I'd now like to introduce Shahid, Township Planner, who is presenting this application. Shahid, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Council, and Member of Public. Tonight, I'm presenting the consent application file number B0320. The subject site is located at the northeast corner of the intersection of Alps Road and Reedsville Road, as you can see on the map. The total lot area is 8,705 square meter, which is 0.87 hectare in size. A lot frontage of 42.64 meter along the Reedsville Road and 129 meter along the Alps Road. The subject property is serviced by private well and septic services. The subject property contain an existing 1.5-story single detached residential dwelling. The balance of the property is landscape grassed and contains several mature trees. The existing dwelling built in era 1865. The subject property is designated on the Municipal Heritage Registry. So this property is located within a Reedsville settlement area. If you see the provincial document provincial policy statement and growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the provincial policy statement, they mentioned that settlement area shall be the focus of growth and development. This means that the proposed consent application align with the provincial policy statement as it support a growth in our settlement area. Similarly, if you see the growth plan area, it says encourage intensification generally through the delineated build-up area, support housing choices through the achievement of minimum intensification and density target, identifying a diverse range and mix of housing option and densities. And if you see the regional official plan policies 3.A.2 and 3.A.3 of the regional official plan that states that the region encourage area municipalities to permit wherever appropriate individual lot intensification. Following the regional official plan and provincial policy statement and plans, township official plan state as I mentioned, the subject property is located in the Reedsville settlement area. So the official plan says the proposed consent application, the township will encourage the provision of new dwelling unit in existing rural settlement area through infill, intensification, or redevelopment compatible with the surrounding area. So the key thing is the infill development, intensification, and high density that allow in a settlement area. As I mentioned, the subject property is designated on the Municipal Heritage Registry. So if you see the official plan cultural heritage policy that states the township will conserve and enhance cultural heritage resources, encourage preservation, restoration, and integration of cultural heritage resources into design of new development. The applicant also submitted the cultural heritage impact assessment, which will be presented to the Heritage Advisory Committee on a meeting scheduled on November 26th. And we will incorporate the recommendation comments of the committee in our next future report. And if you see the township zoning bylaw, currently the subject property is zoned as Zone 3, rural residential, and Zone 3 permit single detached residential dwelling, which may include secondary dwelling unit, accessory use, coach house, or coach house. And if you see the Zone 3 require a minimum lot area 2,000 square meter and a minimum lot width 30 meter, and the applicant is proposing 2,268 square meter in size. Let me share the proposed consent, the plan. So the applicant is proposing severed lot, the western portion of the western portion of lot, which is adjacent to the Reedsville Road. The proposed severed lot has approximately 43 meter of frontage on the Reedsville Road, as you can see on the map, corresponding with the lot area 2,268. And if you see the retained lot approximately 76 meter of frontage on the Alps Road, corresponding lot area 6,430 square meter in size, which is the east portion of the property. The retained lot also include existing building, which is situated on the existing lot, and the existing lot will be serviced by individual septic treatment system and private well and individual septic treatment system. Yeah. So we also circulated the applications to the adjacent property owners, agencies, and departments. At this time, I mean, we didn't receive any comments from the general member of public. However, we received some comments from the region of Waterloo. Region of Waterloo, they provided comments that they don't have any comments or they don't have any concern or objection with the proposed consent application. Regional staff also recommended that the new supply well for the proposed lot be drilled into deeper aquifer due to elevated nitrate concentration in the area. Regional staff will not be requiring the submission of an archaeological assessment. The region staff also stated that the region also provided some additional comments to make the applicant honor that if any archaeological resources or if human remains or grave site in discovering during development or site alteration of the subject property, the applicant or owner immediately contact to the authorities. Energy Plus, they also provided comments and they required legal survey plan. And they also mentioned the applicant will be responsible for 100% cost to service the new lot and upgrade if required a result of this application. Waterloo Catholic District School Board, they mentioned that the education development charges shall be collected prior to issuance of the building permit. So staff, in consideration of the future report on the merit of the application, will be considering matters such as all comments and correspondence received during consultation process, and also the matter which affect the provincial interest. For example, promoting efficient development and land use patterns, the conservation of features of significant architectural, cultural heritage, archaeological, or scientific interest. And we will also see the factor whether it's confirmed with the official plan and zoning bylaw. We will also see whether the proposed plan is compatible with the adjacent uses of property, dimension and shape of the proposed lot. We will also see the appropriate mechanism to ensure responsive site development, such as architectural control, tree preservation, grading, drainage, services, density, scale, height, visual impact, building material, and architectural character of surrounding building and the proposed development. We will also see the preservation of natural environment and built heritage resources, and Heritage Advisory Committee recommendation on cultural heritage impact assessment. As I mentioned, that we will be presenting the cultural heritage impact assessment report on November 26th meeting. So the staff recommending that all comments correspondence received from member of public, government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for the future report to council on the disposition of this matter. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Mayor Foxton, you
No, I can.
I apologize. Would the applicant or the agent like to make any comments?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, I'd like to make a couple of comments. We had just a couple of slides that Evan sent in. I was wondering if the clerk would be able to put those on the screen.
Would you like me to share?
We can, we'll have Cynthia load that up.
Thank you.
Shahid, if you've got them up, that would be helpful.
Yeah. Can you see my screen, please?
We do, but
Yep.
That's your presentation, Shahid. If you,
Oh, sorry.
if we
sorry.
can, I can share mine.
Yes, please.
Good, thank you. I can see that. I expect others can see the screen with our presentation on it?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you. I won't take long. Staff gave a very comprehensive presentation. So I think all I'll do is maybe just give a bit of a brief history and what the motivation is for the severance. I think next slide, Evan, please. Yeah, so staff had identified where the severance is, what the severance entails in terms of lot size and some of the planning considerations. Jerry and Annika Van Dyke own the property. They've lived on the property since the mid-1980s. That was at the time when the house was designated. When they purchased the property, it was rectangular in size. And in 2005, they submitted a severance application, which created that smaller lot along Reedsville Road. I believe its address is 2015. That application was actually to sever and create two lots, with the other lot being right at the corner, similar to the severance that is proposed now. Ultimately, the second lot, the one at the corner, was never realized, due mainly because there was at that time a hydro easement across the lands, and the condition to deal with hydro at that time was never able to be resolved, so the lot wasn't realized. So as a result, the one lot was created, the house was built, and the Van Dykes continued to live in their original house right there, the Heritage House. In 2018, some member of councils may recall the Van Dykes submitted a severance application to again create a lot at the corner. It was a bigger lot, more of a flag-shaped type of lot. Yeah, thanks, Evan. Evan's just sort of sketching it out with the cursor on the screen. And their intention was to build a new home for themselves on the severed lot. And then they would ultimately sell the retained lot, the portion with the Heritage House. Again, and so that, again, that consent application and that severance was approved by Committee of Adjustment. The Van Dykes ultimately did not fulfill the conditions for a few reasons. One being that ultimately they decided they would prefer to essentially renovate their existing house. The motivation for building a new house really was, as they're getting older, to be able to, they prefer to age in place, but their goal was a new house that was essentially a bungalow where the entire living area was on one floor. But since that time, they've decided they'll renovate, and an elevator will be a component of that to be able to allow them to continue to live in their existing house. So the severance application that is now before the committee is exactly the same as the 2005 severance application that was approved back in 2005. I think Evan, maybe the next slide is more useful to conclude. Yeah. And so just a couple of points. These were made by staff as well. The no variances or changes to the bylaw are required for the severance. The application is simply just to sever the property. There have been a number of technical studies that were prepared as part of the 2018 severance. Those have been updated. They demonstrate that there's sufficient area on the property to accommodate the well, to accommodate the necessary septic system. There's a tree management plan done as well to ensure that there's a number of trees on the site, that the majority of those can be preserved. There's a buildable area actually in the middle of the lot that avoids a lot of tree removal. And the planning analysis has been submitted as well. As staff noted, a heritage impact assessment was also completed, and that will be considered by the Heritage Committee later this week. So with that, I'll conclude. We'd be happy if there's any questions to be able to assist committee. But thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There is no members of the public that wish to address this issue. Members of council. Councillor Osner.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With the assessments that were completed on the previous application, I'm assuming it wouldn't be a whole start all over with the Heritage Committee and the cultural assessment and all that stuff. We could use a lot of the research that was completed before, rather than, like I said, starting all over and going through it again, just for, you know, ease of the application. I mean, like, in essence, not much has changed. The square footage of the lot has a bit, but yeah, you know, like, I think it would be kind of easy for the Heritage Committee now to kind of carry it forward and just kind of move forward with what was discussed before, rather than having to start all over again and spend more time. Is that correct?
That's what I was going to ask too, Councillor Osner. I was going to ask why wasn't a CHIA review already done? And why is it being redone again? Is it not repetitive? Councillor Rollerman can probably answer some of this. Where'd you go, Councillor Rollerman? There you are.
Let's try this. There we go. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Actually, on the previous application, there was no CHIA. Council at the time waived the CHIA request. So this time a CHIA was prepared without the Heritage Committee actually requesting it. It was just prepared. And then now it's being peer reviewed, and then the Heritage Committee will be reviewing that at our next meeting.
CO McNeely.
Madam Mayor, just to follow up on Councillor Rowland's statement, the CHIA was waived after consultation with the Heritage Advisory Committee and committee, because the elevation that was proposed for the Van Dyke dwelling, everyone felt was complementary and sympathetic to the existing Part 4 designated residence on what would be today the retained parcel. So on that basis, the CHIA was waived, and one of the conditions to provisional approval was that the residence that was shared with the committee and council would ultimately be the future build on that flag-shaped lot that Mr. Curry identified. This proposal that's before council tonight is not to pursue a specified end built form as was considered back in 2018. Rather, this is to create a vacant lot which will be eligible in the marketplace if the severance were to be created, and a future owner, not known at this time, would apply for a building permit process. So in accordance with the township's planning documents and consistent with provincial policy statement, we have a policy that talks about where there are designated buildings or buildings of heritage significance as listed on our built heritage inventory. A cultural heritage impact assessment would be completed, because that may inform certain conditions that may reflect in provisional approval for perhaps a development agreement, so that that future dwelling, whenever it's built on the severed lot, would bring forward the architectural elements and characteristics for the adjacent 1.5 story stone residence, and such that we're complying with, in all respects, with our official plan. So it's a slightly different scenario, 2018 to present. There is no duplication because, as I said, there was no CHIA the first time around.
Thank you, CO McNeely. I noted the regional comments in regards to the burial grounds and such, and I think we're going to see more often of that because of what's happened on Fisher-Hallman Road. Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
So moved by Councillor Gillespie, seconded by Councillor Rolleman, that report number PD 27-2020 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further consideration in a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. Mayor Foxton, your vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. And now we'll pause while people move in and out for the next Committee of Adjustment one.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good night. Cynthia, you'll advise when you're ready.
Yes.
Okay, you may proceed, Mayor Foxton.
Thank you. Report number 5.2, report number PD 28-2020, consent application for 2 Hall Street, file number B-02/20, and minor variance application A-05/20. I'd like to state in accordance with the Planning Act notice was given. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and/or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. These individuals will be notified by of the decision or the convening future of meetings. I'd like to introduce Shahid, the Township Planner, who will be presenting this application. Shahid, please.
Can you see my screen, please?
You can see it, Shahid. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Madam Mayor. So the next application before Committee of Adjustment is consent application B02 regarding 2 Hall Street. The subject property is located at the northeast intersection of Hall Street and Northumberland Street, as you can see on the map. The total area of the property is 1,076, which is 0.26 acre in size, with the lot frontage of 31 meter and a lot depth 30 meter. The subject property is serviced by municipal water and sanitary services. The western portion, as you can see on the map, the western portion of the property contains an existing single detached residential dwelling and detached garage that rear of the property. The balance of the property is landscape grassed and intermixed with the mature trees. The subject property is listed on Municipal Heritage Registry. As we can see on a provincial level, a provincial document, provincial policy statement and growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, the property is located basically in a settlement area, and provincial policies support intensification, density, and choice of housing in our settlement area. As you can see on the section 1.1.3 of the provincial policy statement, that state that settlement area shall be the focus of growth and development. Similarly, following the provincial policy statement, the growth plan state that encourage intensification generally throughout the delineated built-up area, as the property is also in a built-up area. Support housing choices through achievement of minimum intensification density target, identifying a diverse range of mix of housing option and densities. As you can see on the regional official plan map, map 3E, the property is located within a built-up area, and as I mentioned that the intensification and density and also encourage in a built-up area and settlement area. Specific to the North Dumfries, the region of Waterloo has assigned a target of new intensification, redevelopment dwelling units, 552 resident residences by 2031 within the built-up area and air. If you see the township official plan, as I mentioned, that the property is located in a built-up area and designated as urban, residential, and ancillary. The proposed consent applications align with the policy 2.4.5 and 2.6.1.1 of the township official plan. The township official plan encouraged the provision of new dwelling units in a built-up area through infill, intensification, and redevelopment compatible with the surrounding area. Development within the urban, residential, ancillary designation is intended to accommodate an appropriate range of mix of housing in terms of density, affordability to satisfy the long-term needs of the township. The subject property is also listed on the Municipal Heritage Registry. So if you see the cultural heritage policies of township official plan, that talks about that conserve and enhance cultural heritage resources, encourage preservation, restoration, and integration of cultural heritage resources into design of new development. The CHIA, the applicant also submitted the CHIA Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment Report, which is under review and presented to Heritage Advisory Committee on November 26th meeting. Any comments or recommendations from the Heritage Advisory Committee related to the Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment Report will be incorporated into the future staff report to Committee of Adjustment. If we see the zoning bylaw, that currently the subject property is zoned as Zone 4, which is urban residential. Z4 classification permit single detached dwelling, which may also include secondary dwelling and accessory uses as well. When we see the proposed consent application, the whole application, so the applicant is proposing basically one new lot and one retained lot. So the severed lot would be approximately 17.20 meter. This is the severed lot. As you can see, the east portion of the property, 17.20 meter of frontage onto the Hall Street with corresponding lot area 557 square meter. If the application approved, the owner seeks to construct a new single detached housing with secondary dwelling unit. And the minor variance will be also required to meet the lot frontage and the minimum lot area of the property. And if you see the retained lot, the retained lot would be approximately 13.86 meter, frontage onto the Hall Street with corresponding lot area 563 square meter. The existing single detached dwelling will be remain on the retained lot, as you can see on the map. However, the existing rear addition, which you can see on the picture, the rear addition of the dwelling, detached garage, and driveway access to the Northumberland Street will be removed as part of the proposed development. So the new proposed development will be provide access from the Hall Street to both lots. As I mentioned that if the consent application approved, it will also require the minor variance, and the applicant is proposing 557 square meter lot area. While, I mean, if you see the existing bylaw, it requires 700 meter, but the applicant proposes 557 square meter. The bylaw required 18 meter lot width. The proposed severed lot would be 17.2 meter, and the retained lot would be 13.84 meter. Zoning bylaw also required 2.4 meter the minimum side yard, and the applicant proposing 2.2 meter side yard. So the application also circulated to agencies, department, and adjacent property owners. So we received 3 correspondence from the interested member of public or adjacent property owners. They also expressed a concern regarding parking issues, and they also expressed a concern that it's quite narrow street. So there'll be the parking issue and visibility of intersection. And also there'll be issue for emergency services vehicle and school bus as well. And they also mentioned that the proposed lot and retained lot doesn't meet the zoning bylaw requirement, as I mentioned before, like a minimum lot area will be required 700 square meter and 18 meter lot frontage. And they also mentioned that the proposed development will affect the character of area, because surrounding area, there are a lot of heritage designated property or listed property. Secondary dwelling unit parking also proposed like a 5.37 meter, which will be like a whole overhanging sidewalk, and it's require more space. As you can see on the picture, they are proposing parking for secondary dwelling unit in the front yard. So we also receive comments from the agencies. So Region of Waterloo, they didn't express any concern. They don't have any objection. And they mentioned that prior to approval, the applicant will obtain an access permit. The owner or applicant enter into registered development agreement with the region to include noise warning clause in all agreement of offer, purchase and sale, lease or rental agreement for both severed and retained lot. Energy Plus, they express no concern, and they also require legal survey. And they also mentioned that the applicant will be responsible for 100% cost of service for the new lot and relocation and upgrade services. So staff, in consideration of future report to merit of the planning, will be considering matters such as all comments and correspondence received during consultation process. And they also, staff will also consider the matter of provincial interest, for example, promoting efficient development and land use patterns, safe and healthy community, conservation of features of significant architectural, cultural, historical, archaeological, or scientific interest, whether development is comply with the zoning bylaw and official plan, whether it's compatible with the adjacent land uses, adjacent properties, and dimension, shape, and proposed lots as well. So the staff will also consider appropriate mechanism to ensure responsive site development, such as architectural control, tree preservation, grading, drainage, scale, height, building material, architectural character of surrounding building and proposed development. And the staff will also consider traffic generated by proposed development and surrounding land uses. As I mentioned before, we received some comments concern from the neighboring properties. And as I mentioned, that the applicant also submitted the CHIA report, Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment Report, which will be presented to the Heritage Advisory Committee on November 26th meeting. And the Heritage Advisory Committee recommendations and comments will be included in the next report to the committee. So staff recommending that all comments and correspondence received from member of public and government agencies through the consultation process be returned to staff for future report to council on disposition of this matter. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Shahid. Now, would the applicant or the agent wish to speak on this matter?
Yes, I would.
Go ahead, Steve.
Okay, thank you, Mayor Foxton, members of the committee. My name is Steve Jefferson with K Smart Associates. I'm joined in our boardroom this evening with Litz Marina Vargas, the project architect, who also prepared the urban design report, and also two representatives of the owner, Sirkan and Saul. So if there are any questions that they can assist me with, I may turn to them. I'd like to thank Shahid for his overview of the application and providing the details of what is being proposed here. Just for clarification on a few points, based on my knowledge and interpretation of the Township Zoning bylaw, I would note that the proposed lot to be retained would have a lot width of 18 meters. When you look at the drawing where the 13.84 meters is, that shows the frontage along Hall Street up to where a daylight triangle had been removed in the past. So if you look at the definitions and the figures in the zoning bylaw and how you deal with a situation like this, you essentially ignore the daylight triangle when you're calculating the lot frontage. So we believe that we have met the lot width for the retained lot. I will confirm that with the township planner after tonight's meeting. Similarly, he referred to the minimum side yard for the proposed lot and the house envelope that is shown based on the design that Litz Marina has done. The side yard of 2.2 meters is shown to the edge of a bay window, which in the bylaw is recognized as a permitted encroachment into a side yard, based on my understanding of it. When you look at the main footprint of the house, the minimum side yard is 2.99 meters, which does meet the regulation in the zoning bylaw. So it's another one that I will follow up with Shahid on afterwards. Another point to make for the information of the committee and members of the public, I did visit the township website, and the summary that you have for this application and the listing of the background studies which were completed in support of the application. All of the reports that were submitted are listed. However, for the urban design report, the link is not active. So if members of the public wanted to obtain that urban design report, as of a couple of hours ago, the link was not active. So maybe staff could look into that and make that link available for members of the public. The report that Litz Marina completed for the urban design is very detailed and comprehensive, and I think would be of great benefit for the area residents which have provided their comments and will assist them in understanding the reasons why this has been submitted as is.
Thank you very much. Are you done, Mr. Shefflin? I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
Okay, some of the points that were raised by members of the public, I'll just quickly touch on those, but what we will be doing is following up with a formal written submission to the township, responding to all of these points so that it can be circulated by the township to those people who have taken the time to comment, so that we can formally respond to their concerns that were raised. For the Farrell family, I believe they may be the next door neighbors. No?
Yes, yes. Joanne and Bill Farrow are the next door neighbors.
Yeah, so they had raised the concern about the proposed loss of trees along the common lot line. And up until late this summer, the intent was to retain those trees. However, at the township's requirement, we did retain an arborist to complete a formal tree preservation plan. And based on the arborist's opinion, he felt that those trees would not be able to be retained due to the excavation for the foundation. Our proposal is that at the time of excavation, the arborist be on site and assess each tree and determine if any of those trees can be retained over and above what was flagged as the ones that are likely to be lost from the redevelopment. In addition to that work, the arborist also prepared a compensation plan. It was something that was not required by the policies, but when we realized that those trees may be lost, the arborist did prepare a list of species of trees which would be appropriate for replanting after the house is built. So all efforts will be made to plant a number of trees on the property that the arborist has recommended as being appropriate for this site. We'd also have to take into account lot grading, any swales, that sort of thing on the location of those trees. But we will be making efforts to replace the trees. Some of the other comments are referring to the whether this is a minor variance or not. I think when you look at the actual width of the retained lot being 18 meters, that removes that concern. Yes, the lots are slightly smaller than the zoning requires. However, in the urban design report, Litz Marina did include a table that provided an analysis of, it's on page 14, once people can get access to the report. And it was a table that looked at the neighborhood and analyzed lot areas, lot frontages, and types of housing for all of the houses in the neighborhood. So we feel confident that what's being proposed is similar and consistent with the existing lots and houses in the neighborhood. With respect to the traffic concerns, I am aware of the intersection of Hall and Northumberland Street. However, the trade-off that we are looking at here is the removal of the existing driveway for the house onto Northumberland Street. It is currently essentially a blind access. Anytime I've been on site and Les Marina has been there, it essentially requires another person to stand on the sidewalk and let you know when it's clear. So we believe that by removing that hazardous driveway, it is much more safer for everyone involved if the two driveways front onto Hall Street. I think in the urban design report, also on page 51, I'll provide a very quick summary that Les Marina prepared, but it also is consistent with my opinion as a professional planner. In the past, I was involved with the Severance across the street at 15 Hall. And at that time, we reviewed it and felt it was appropriate. And so when I was approached whether I'd be involved in this project, I used that as an example to say we wanted to end up with something that was similar to 15 Hall Street in terms of being compatible with the neighborhood. So to quote the urban design report, we both have a professional opinion that the setbacks does not impose upon neighboring buildings. The orientation is consistent with the street. The scale, proportion, and rhythm are consistent with other houses on the street. The mass and height of 2 stories are consistent with the streetscape. The materials, color, roof shape, detail, and modest ornamentation is sympathetic to the architectural design of mature buildings on the street and similar color palette and material. The existing row of trees along the eastern property line will be mostly retained where possible. However, we will be replanting as much as we can. Also note the secondary buildings in the form of parking garages will be located to the rear of the property, which is consistent with a mature neighborhood. There is a provision in the Township Zoning bylaw in situations like this where abutting landowners can construct a shared garage that has 0 side yard along the property line. You see that in many downtown neighborhoods, downtown Kitchener. There are certain situations, I believe, in Ayr as well. So in many ways, this is a throwback to older neighborhoods of having a shared garage along a common property line. So, based on the completion of our planning justification report, I believe that this does represent good planning for the municipality, and we're available to answer any questions that you may have regarding this proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. There are no members of the public that wish to had registered. Councilors, any questions? Councilor McCreary.
On the proposed severed lot, the new lot, the dwelling there, it's going to have 2 families living in it. I believe there's an extra dwelling unit there. Can you explain where that is? Is it in the basement? Is it upstairs, or how is that being designed?
Yes, as part of the architectural design work that Les Marina completed, she has done the house drawings, and it is a basement unit. And we based the details and the design of that on the township's current policies for secondary dwelling units. So this is not defined as a duplex, but it is in accordance with the township's policies for secondary dwelling units, which is also to note implementing guidance from the province to allow this as a right wherever possible in municipalities to provide smaller scale intensification rather than larger buildings.
Any other questions? I have several. Go ahead, Councilor McCreary.
What about the car that's being parked in the front yard, the parking space in the front yard? I would ask, don't we have any bylaws or design guidelines about parking cars in the front yard? I thought that like having the garages in the front yard and prominent at the front of the house was considered to be not good design, and that we were trying to get away from that. But now we're actually planning something where the car will be parked in the front yard. And I note that you're saying that the shared garage at the back is reminiscent of mature neighborhoods and a throwback to the old days, but I don't think having the car parked in the front yard would be the same thing. That's the exact opposite. And I think it would be very unappealing visually.
Madam Mayor, through to Councillor McCreary, there are standards and provisions in the general provisions of the zoning bylaw that deal with widths of driveways on lots within urban air. And that is not germane to the consent itself, but it is an element related to urban design and would be spoken to as part of the future report to council.
Any further questions? Councillor Rollerman.
Oh, there you go. Madam Mayor, through to I guess the CAO or maybe Steve Jefferson. What is the dimensions of this parking spot in front of the unit? Like I can't really see it on the drawing you sent. I can't really make out the dimensions.
Shahid, go ahead.
So Councillor Roman, the length dimensions of 5.37 meter, but they didn't mention the width. So I can see the length is 5.37 meter.
But you don't know the width, Shahid.
No, they didn't
Okay,
mention
thank
that.
you.
Through you, Mayor Foxton, the width is 3.5 meters as drawn on the sketch.
2.5 meters?
3.5.
3, okay. 2.5 meters, my gosh. Any other questions, Councillor Rollerman?
You know, the average Ford F-150 is 5.3 meters long. So basically, this will be the exact length of a pickup truck, which 90% of the residents of Air own pickup trucks. So this thing will be parking over our sidewalk and blocking those kids that are walking to school up Hall Street. That's my concern.
Actually, Councillor Rollman, if I can just clarify, by definition, we have minimum parking widths and lengths. So technically, this doesn't achieve a parking space. And as I mentioned a moment ago, that would actually, it's not the consent, that's an urban design matter, and we'd be showing it as non-compliant.
So that's what Committee of Adjustment is doing, and we're deciding what we will waive and what we will not waive. Councillor McCreary, you had your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'm looking at the square footage of these lots. So our bylaw says that the minimum square footage is 700 square feet. But if we were to do this, we would then be creating.
You froze, Councillor McCreary. Do you want to try and take your photo off, take your video off? While we're waiting for her to come back or whatever she was, I'm going to step in then if no one else has any questions. I have quite a few. I'm very concerned with the parking, as a couple of the councillors have stated. It's a school crossing. There's no parking allowed on that section of Hall Street because of visibility. It's a narrow street anyways. Is it right adjacent to the driveway across the road from it? Do we know? Shahid, I think it's 15 Hall Street or whatever he said. Is it adjacent to that parking spot?
Yes.
I think we're asking for, I think we're putting children at risk. You know, the entrance on Northumberland Street has never been an issue at all. If the sight lines are bad, it's because of the bushes or shrubs that are on that property that could be cut back. But this is putting school children in direct conflict with vehicles. And I think you're just asking, can you imagine a child running down the street, trying to catch up to the crossing guard or their friend, and a vehicle coming out because it's back in on the further in the driveway? It's got to get past both houses. It's got to get past the car that's parked right to the sidewalk before it can even have visibility to see a young child, to me, it would be a nightmare. Councilor McCreary, you're up again.
Thanks. My internet just suddenly disconnected, so I'm back. Okay, I was talking about the size of the lots. To me, if you can point to one lot that's 560 square meters, and then you can say, therefore, we can have, all our lots can be that small, there's no point in having the bylaw anymore. I'm saying if our bylaw is 700 square feet, we should be sticking to it. I think that these two lots together, to me, create not a minor variance, but it's a major variance, and I'm not in favor of it. They're too small.
Okay, and Councilor McCreary, that's good, but you have to remember that we're Committee of Adjustment, which means that we're asking for an adjustment to the bylaw if the council feels that it fits the situation. So that's what we're here to evaluate, and we can say yes or no to that situation, but they have the right to present. So you may carry on. And then Councillor Ossner after Councilor McCreary.
No, I'm just saying that we have to determine whether or not the variance is minor.
Correct.
And we evaluate everything that we see here. And I'm just saying my initial view is that this is a major variance and I'm not in favor of it. That's all I'm saying. And I agree we have to evaluate everything. But at this point, I'm very concerned about continuing to allow these tiny lots to be created. Then if we continue to allow these, there's no point even having the bylaw, because we're going to, this is a big difference. 20% is a big difference. I'm not talking about 5% or maybe 10 square meters.
Steve, I'll get you after
Talking
Councillor
about
Ossner.
150 square meters and 20%.
And as I was stating before, I'm concerned we're asking for one family in one home, two families in another, and at a high children traffic area. Councillor Ossner, you were next, and then Councillor, then Mr. Jefferson. I just made your councillor. Go ahead, Councillor Ossner.
Just going by memory, did there not used to be a old garage in the back of there that was always that backed fronted onto Hall Street that was torn down years ago?
I don't recall that. I've been here, I've been involved in that neighborhood. I lived on Hall Street for a lot of years. So I've been here 40 years and I don't remember that.
Okay.
They had a huge, I know they had the huge maple tree that they took down a few years ago.
Yeah.
That was there.
Well, okay. All right. I might be thinking of a different property. But the other thing is, as well as, I mean, we have to take everything into consideration because, you know, we have a an in-law suite bylaw now, and infill is promoted within the region, the province, township, exact everything. And I don't think that there's going to be any property that we do a severance on, or somebody does a severance on, that is going to fit the current bylaw. So I think that when we're doing infill, we have to consider the fact that they will probably be, the lots will probably be smaller than our bylaw because they're infill. Now, looking at the properties that we approved on Manley Street, you know, we have to see. I don't want to cram everybody in. I don't want to make it too small, but I still believe this is a minor variance situation, not a major variance.
And just to clarify that, when we allowed the secondary resident to go into a property, it was into an existing, they're not severed in the one that we just passed, where we allowed this tiny
It
homes.
was one house and we allowed two homes with a shared driveway.
Okay, but I'm talking of a different situation. Okay, Mr. Jefferson, you're up.
Okay, through you, Mayor Foxton, in response to the question about lot sizing, refer to the table on page 14, the analysis of nearby properties. Let's give a quick rundown of some of the smaller lots. 15 Hall Street is 450 square meters, 19 Hall Street, 500 square meters, 23 Hall Street is 475 square meters, 29 Hall Street, 600 square meters, 123 Northumberland, 625 square meters. 71 Northumberland, 625 square meters. 130 Northumberland, 575 square meters. 98 Northumberland, 425 square meters. So this wouldn't be the first lot smaller than 700 square meters in the neighborhood. And just very quickly on the parking and demand created by this secondary dwelling unit. It is designed as being a 2-bedroom apartment, but it's also intended to be a starter residence. It's not intended to be for a large family, and we would hope that if someone is looking at renting that unit, whatever size of parking space is approved and built, that would be part of the decision-making process for someone. We wouldn't want someone with a very large vehicle to be looking at renting the unit if it is a slightly smaller space. So we will address that in more detail in the formal response.
And Mr. Jefferson, on that note, you would not be able to tell the person renting to rent what size of vehicle they could have. That would be discrimination, and you would be asking, I believe, for a possible court case. So you can't predict what's going to happen there. Not just that, though, it's the quantity of vehicles. You could say it's a basement apartment, but if a couple moves in there, as you know, we have no public transit. They could have 2 vehicles. And then you've got the main house, and again, no public transit. And if it's a couple, another 2 vehicles. And then in the retained house, you could have it, could talk up to 6 vehicles. And they would not be allowed to park on the street. That is no parking there due to sightlines, school buses, and the children walking. So we have to address all these issues in the up front, to ensure the safety of everyone.
Yeah, so in response to the comment about the Northumberland Street driveway, part of the problem is the building to the north is right at the sidewalk. So so that does create a block that you cannot see around. For my client's property, which is within their control, we can look at the existing trees that are on there, and if there can be any trimming back of those trees to improve the sight line in that daylight triangle at the corner. But I wasn't suggesting that we would have the ability to ban people from renting based on number of vehicles, but it would be a form of when the lot unit is advertised, it would be made clear to someone looking at it that this is the parking that is available, so that they can make an informed decision.
Now that you mentioned trees, you may have to remove the trees separating yourselves from the Farrow property. And if you have to replace them, you would put them at existing heights that's already there. It would not be new saplings or smaller trees. Is that correct?
I can't commit to that. That's quite large trees to be able to be transplanting. With the plan prepared by the arborist, they did document the appropriate type of trees that could go within there, and they documented what would be appropriate for the planting size, so I can include that in a response as well.
Thank you, because I know they use those for privacy as well, and so they would be losing their privacy. Any other questions, councillors? Seeing none, can I have please the motion?
Certainly. So moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Rowland that report number PD 28-2020 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further consideration in a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. So Mayor Foxton, how do you vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rowland?
Yes.
Councillor Osner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
And Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you very much. And now we will pause for the next group to come in and the last group to go out. And Cynthia, you'll advise me when we're ready.
Yes, we are ready.
Thank you very much. Okay. Report number PD 29-2020, consent application for 250 Northumberland Street, file number B-04/20. In accordance with the Planning Act, notice was given. The Secretary Treasurer will record everyone who has commented on this application, attended and/or have registered with the Clerk's Division to attend the meeting this evening. These individuals will be notified of the decision or the convening of future meetings. I'd like to introduce Shahid, the Township Planner, who will be presenting the application. Shahid, please.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. So the next application I'm presenting tonight is regarding 250 Northumberland Street, consent application B04/20. The subject property is located on the west side of Northumberland Street and north of Nith Road, as you can see on the map. The property is approximately 1,867 square meter in size, with corresponding lot of 34.84 meter along Northumberland Street, with the lot depth 53.83 meter. Currently, there's an existing single detached dwelling on the property, and at the rear side, and there's a garage at the rear side of the property as well. The balance of the property is landscaped and grassed. The property is serviced by municipal water and sanitary sewer, and the property is accessed through the Northumberland Street. So the staff also reviewed the provincial policy documents, as the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe support the intensification and density in a settlement area, as the property is located within a settlement area boundary. So if you see the provincial policy statement that says that settlement area shall be the focus of growth and development, and land use pattern with settlement area shall be based on density and mix of land use, within which should be efficiently use land and resources. The growth plan also talk about the encourage intensification generally throughout the delineated build-up area, as the property is also located in a build-up area. And the growth plan also support housing choices through the achievement of the minimum intensification and density target. It also talk about the identifying a diverse range of and mix of housing option and densities. So as I mentioned, the property is located within a build-up area. So the regional official plan that also support the intensification in that area, and it's specific to the North Dumfries. The region of Waterloo has assigned a target of new intensification redevelopment dwelling units of 552 residences by 2031 within build-up area. So if you see the township official plan, the township official plan policy 2.4.5 and 2.6.1.1 of the official plan, that also encourage the provision of the new dwelling units in built-up area in air through infill development, conversion, intensification, or redevelopment compatible with the surrounding uses. Development within urban residential and ancillary designation is intended to accommodate an appropriate range and mix of housing in terms of density and affordability to satisfy the long-term need of the township. The subject property currently designated as Zone 4A, and Zone 4A permit the single detached dwelling with which may also include accessory uses and secondary dwelling as well. So let me share the proposed consent application basically. So the proposed new lot within the proposed new lot with approximately 14.66 meter with the corresponding lot area 712.7 square meter in size. As you can see on the west portion of the property will be severed lot, and the east portion of the property will be retained lot. So the retained lot would have an approximately 20.9 meter frontage onto the Northumberland Street, with corresponding lot area 1,156.1 square meter. If the consent application approved, it would require a minor variance, as a zoning bylaw required minimum lot area 800 square meter and minimum lot width 18 meter. And if you see the severed lot, the proposed severed lot proposing 14.66 meter lot frontage. The future development of service severed lot would be serviced with municipal water and sanitary sewer, and the new driveway onto the Northumberland be constructed to provide access to the property, the severed lot, and of course the retained lot as well, which already have access to from the Northumberland. So the application has been circulated to agencies, department, and adjacent property owners. So we didn't receive any comments and concern from any member of public. So when we circulated the applications to agencies, we received comments from the Region of Waterloo and Energy Plus. Municipality of Waterloo, they mentioned they don't have any concern, they don't have any objection. They also provided comments. The owner applicant complete the required access permit at the time of after the approval. If necessary, the shared mutual access agreement to the satisfaction of the Region of Waterloo as well. The owner or applicant enter into an agreement with the region noise warning clause in all agreements, offer of purchase and sale, lease rental agreements, and condominium declaration for the dwelling units on the proposed severed and retained lands. Energy Plus expressed no concerns. Staff, in consideration of future report on the merit of the application, will be considering the matter, such as all comments and correspondence received through during the consideration process, the matter which provincial interest matter, like promoting efficient development and land use pattern, safe and healthy community, the conservation of features of significant architectural, cultural heritage, historical, archaeological, or scientific interest, whether the development conform with the official plan and zoning bylaw, whether the development will be compatible with the adjacent uses and properties, dimension and shape of the proposed lot. We will also consider the appropriate mechanism to ensure responsive site development, such as architectural control, tree preservation, access, drainage and grading, height, scale, visual impact, building material and architectural, and character of surrounding building and proposed development as well. We will also take into consideration the traffic generated by the surrounding land uses and the proposed development. And the staff recommending that that all comments and correspondence received from member of the public and government agencies through consultation process be returned to staff for future report to council on the disposition of this matter. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. And I have down here that the applicant or agent wish to just listen. Is that correct? Does anyone want to speak on this issue?
We don't have comments at this time, but we could be able to answer any after.
Thank you. Okay. And right now there is no member, a member of the public, Jim Schmidt. Jim,
Yes.
would you like to speak?
Good evening, Madam
evening,
Mayor and Planning Council members. My name is Jim Schmidt. My wife Darlene and I own and reside at 4 Nith River Court in Ayr and have for 28 years. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening regarding application B-0420. Our lot is shown as Lot 2 on the proposed site plan, adjacent to the west side of the proposal in question. We bought this lot and built this house to get out of the high-density living in Kitchener, and have had only 2 lots neighboring us to the east, which is across our backyard, for these 28 years. Things are now changing in terms of our investment. 5 years ago, a flipper bought the lot and house shown as Lot R and requested and received approval for a similar lot severance right next door to this proposal. His flip was not successful, and he was forced to move his own family into the house. The severed portion has sat empty and completely overgrown with soil dumps, tree limbs, and leaves for over 3 years now. An outbuilding with a roof needing major repair sits at the back of the lot. We get to stare into this empty pit from our back deck. Now, the owner of the lot, directly behind us, is looking for a similar concession. An owner who does not even live on the property, but rents it out. We should only expect the same use of the severed lot. With what is being built only 2 lots to the north on the Gore property, which is going from 2 dwellings to 13, and the parcel across from the foodland with in excess of 50 dwellings, can we expect the rest of the Northumberland Street properties to be allowed to do the same? Our property values with this level of population density growth is seriously deteriorating our biggest lifetime investment. We are being asked to allow the number of direct neighbor dwellings to our east to go from 2 to now 4. Our backyard investment with a pool, hot tub deck, landscaping, and other amenities will be impeded upon by the sights and sounds of twice as many adults and children, dogs, landowners, trimmers, and all other manner of regular life. Now, I don't want to sound like we are the only ones that will be affected by these events, but I would ask each of you to close your eyes for a moment. Remember a sunny afternoon around the barbecue this past summer in your own backyard. Children laughing, maybe some splashing sounds, a mower in the distance. What memories are made of? Now, open your eyes and consider the number of neighboring dwellings across your backyard being doubled in the blink of an eye. That is not the village of air we moved into, and is not the village of air we want to leave. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Schmidt. Committee members, any questions or comments? Seeing none, can I have the motion, please?
Moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Osner, that report PD 29-2020 be received. And that all
Sorry,
comments-
Ashley. So excuse me, Ashley. I was having trouble getting my mute button off. I did have a quick question.
Oh, go ahead, Councillor Osner.
Sorry about that. So in the development plan, did I hear correctly that they're putting another driveway into for the second unit?
Shahid?
Yes, so applicant will be proposing the driveway, and the region of Waterloo asking to obtain the access permit.
Okay, so the region is okay with the
Yes,
region hasn't said right off the bat that there's no more driveways?
Yeah, they didn't express any concern, and they asked, for the sever lot, they would be asking for obtain an access permit.
For a new driveway?
Yes.
So there'll be 2 driveways that are not a shared driveway? Because the property just to the north of it, remember we were going through that, I thought the whole thing with the region was they didn't want another entranceway coming off of Northumberland Street.
Well, Councillor Osner, maybe I can assist Shahid because he may not know the history of the property to the north. You're quite correct. The property to the north, when the consent was pursued, were required to put a shared driveway in. The region this time round has indicated that they will either allow a separate permit and or a shared. They haven't taken a formal position as we speak right now.
Okay, and to continue with that, the width of the property will be 14.66 meters, and our bylaw states 18.
Correct, Councillor Osner.
18 meters?
Yes.
Because I'm looking at the proposal, It looks very narrow to me. Yeah, it just looks very narrow. That's
No
all
other
my
comments?
questions.
No other comments? Can we now have the motion, please?
So moved by Councillor McCreary, seconded by Councillor Osner, that report number PD 29-2020 be received, and that all comments and correspondence received through the consultation process be returned to staff for further consideration in a future report to the committee on the disposition of this matter. So Mayor Foxton, your vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. And now we'll wait till you move the individuals out. Have a good evening, gentlemen. And we will move on to just wait for Mr. Schmidt. Goodbye. All right. And we're good, Cynthia?
Yes.
Okay, so now we will go to adjournment, please, of the Committee of Adjustment.
Moved by Councillor Rolleman, seconded by Councillor Gillespie, that pursuant to the Planning Act, the public meetings of Committee of Adjustment be adjourned at 8:22 p.m. and the council meeting be called back to order. Mayor Foxton, you vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman,
Yes.
Councillor Osner,
Yes.
Councillor McCreary,
Yes.
and Councillor Gillespie.
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you. Before I go to the confirmatory bylaw, do we want to at some point discuss infill lots and that, or do we want to just leave it alone and go the way we're going? CEO McNeely?
Madam Mayor, during the summer of 2019 and the early fall of 2019, staff did, and into, I guess, the late fall of 19, early 20, staff did prepare for discussion purposes. We made two different presentations to the Planning and Sustainable Development Advisory Committee that's chaired by Councillor McCreary to deal with protection of established neighborhoods. And we identified 5 neighborhoods, largely in and around the old village of Ayr. And they're actually scheduled for coming to council on the December the 14th meeting.
Okay, and that'll be before these come back, is that correct?
That's correct. These applications will not be back until the new year, as there are still some outstanding issues to be sorted out, and practically we can't do it in 2 weeks' time. But as I said, the character of established neighborhoods. So there are discussion papers related to potential changes to the official plan. So that would provide blueprint overall policy direction. And the second component would be a zone provision specific to these 5 neighborhoods to assist in dealing with bona fide proposals.
Excellent, thank you. Then we will wait for that discussion. Is there any other comments before we go to the adjournment? Councilor McCreary.
I was going to say, I did have my hand up to make a comment about the previous application. I guess, Mayor Foxton, you didn't see me.
I did, I forgot, I apologize.
That, I agree with Councillor Oster when he said that lot looks awfully narrow in the drawing. And also just to the south of it, I think there was the property that Mr. Schmidt was referring to, which the lot was severed and it was just sort of abandoned. It it doesn't look like something that we would want to repeat. So, I mean, I hope we can do something to kind of rein these applications in, because I think if we don't, they're going to get to the point where they're going to start to look ridiculous. People will try to just do anything to sever off a lot. And some of these lots are going to create really unattractive neighborhoods.
I have to agree. Councillor Osner.
And just to build onto that, when we're talking about intensification and target numbers and stuff like that, that particular part of Ayr is not under density targets, correct? Like the density targets all go for new development, correct?
CEO McNeely.
There's two
I read
different
through that.
issues. There are two different issues. Within the built boundary, and 2 Hall Street and 250 Northumberland are within the built boundary. The township's supposed to accommodate about 40 to 45% of its future growth within the built boundary. Now, back in 2013, 2014, there were negotiations between the 3 cities, the 4 townships, and the region. What happened was they lowered the threshold for intensification within the 4 townships within the built boundary, but increased it in the 3 cities. So for North Dumfries, and specific to urban air, the threshold was set at just, and I apologize, I'm going off the top of my head, slightly more than 500 future dwelling units in the built boundary. As it relates specifically to the greenfield developments, you're quite correct. There's an overall density target, which the province this past summer has actually increased going forward. As the province continues to try and create a more affordable housing strategy to deal with future growth. So there are 2 different targets, one related to greenfield, one related to the built boundary.
Thank you, CEO McNeely. But getting back to Margaret's point, the building that is south of the one that was brought forward tonight,
It's
we know, I don't know if property standards would touch that. I don't know if it's that far gone, but it has been left it was grassed at least. Now it's not grassed. It's a mess. It's not decent looking, in my opinion. And I don't think it falls under the property standards bylaw because it's not horrible either. So that's what Margaret was saying as well, is if we sever this lot and it does not sell because the other one didn't sell, are we going to create all these ugly little pieces that someday someone will hope to sell? And I'm not expecting a response. It's a rhetorical question because we don't really have an answer, do we? Do you? I take it if you got it.
So, I mean, there are provisions under either property standards or clean yards. Okay, so if there's debris and the property is uncapped on a complaint, bylaw would go and do an investigation. And if there are specific matters of concern, they would issue an order to bring it into compliance. What I'm amazed is, given the price of land and the shortage of lots, that the owner that pursued the consent 2.5 years ago, he's sitting on vacant land that has intrinsic value as a building lot.
Nobody bought it. He had it listed for a long time.
A very, very high price.
I didn't know the price, but
Yeah, I mean, I saw what the listing was, and it was quite significant in terms of the ask. That being said, the property is very valuable in today's marketplace, and I'm surprised that there's not an active listing on the property.
so I will look forward to the discussion on December 14th in regards to this matter, and we can go to the confirmatory bylaw, please.
Okay, moved by Councillor Gillespie, seconded by Councillor Rolleman. The bylaw number 3201-20, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council on November 24th, 2020, be read a first, second, third time, and be finally passed, signed, and sealed by the mayor and clerk. Mayor Foxton, your vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yes.
Councillor McCreary?
Yes.
Councillor Gillespie?
Yes.
Okay, that carries.
Thank you. And the adjournment, please. You do want to adjourn, don't you?
Moved by Councillor McCreary and seconded by Councillor Ossner, that whereas business before this public planning meeting has been completed at 8:30 p.m. and be it resolved, this meeting adjourns and meets again on Monday, December 14th at 6 o'clock for a council meeting. Mayor Fox, can you vote on that?
Yes.
Councillor Rolleman?
Yes.
Councillor Ossner?
Yep.
Counselor McCreary,
Yes.
and Counselor Gillespie.
Yes.
That carries and we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So CO McNeely, because we are not meeting till the 14th, we are. Did I lose you? I think I lost him. There you are. You're